Hello. Oh my gosh. I was just knocking things over. And so this is part 3 of the Awakening Basics series. And tonight I wanted to talk about some obstacles that you may encounter. And you might think, well, why would we focus on obstacles? And if you know something is coming, then you're, more prepared for it. If you come up against a barrier, then you might see it as this grand wall that might represent like the end of your journey, or oh well, we can't get past this. But the more you can recognize these obstacles, the easier they are to navigate, and it puts them in their place. It brings them down to their actual size instead of seeming like an insurmountable task. Again, this is just a chat. I am not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I am just here because I have been going through an awakening for the past 4.5 years. And I'm here now to share what I've learned with you so that it may help you on your path. So what might make you feel stuck along the way? Oh, and feel free to put questions in the chat if you have any. So what may make you feel stuck? First of all, if you don't realize what's going on, if you don't realize that your soul is waking up or calling to you and trying to break free from all of the clutter that we accumulate in our lives, you might just attribute it to, oh, I'm getting older, life's getting harder, I'm having a midlife crisis, whatever. You may not understand what's happening. So that can kind of keep you stuck because you don't know that that's just a beginning point of something. You might think, oh, life's just getting not as fun anymore, or whatever we attribute it to. So another thing, hey Shane, how are you? Another thing is you might get stuck because you realize you don't really belong where you are, but you don't believe you deserve better. We kind of get stuck in that comfortable discomfort that I talk about. You may think that you owe everyone else everything, and it's your job to make other people comfortable in life, or I'm glad. I'm good, thank you. You may think that you don't deserve anything. It's your job to make people happy or less miserable. You can't. I've found that if you're trying to please people, the people that demand that kind of attention and love, you're not making them happy. You're just making them less miserable, in my experience. But the biggest thing, so you don't understand what's happening. You don't think that you deserve love. You don't deserve anything better out of life. But then you have all of these limiting beliefs that cause this fear in you. And limiting beliefs are just something that, you don't believe at the core without all of these things, titles and social networks and belongings that you've accumulated. You think that without that, you're not you. You don't understand that down, like at your core, you are a part of something bigger. You are connected to everything. And the fear of losing what you think you are is very powerful. So that can keep you stuck as well. And some of those fears that get driven by those limiting beliefs are, first of all, you're afraid you're not going to be loved. You think, if I don't act this way anymore, then these people who love me won't love me anymore. And if I move away from this, then who will love me? And I won't be lovable and all of these things. And I've talked about it ad nauseum that you have to love yourself first, and you have to understand that you deserve love, and that you love yourself first, and that's it. It has to start there. But that is a huge fear, because a lot of us are used to feeling like if I do this, then they will love me. So to step away from that and to understand that you deserve unconditional love and that it has to start with you is a whole new world. But it's good to recognize when that comes up in you, because it's not true that you won't find love, but it just has to start with you. You're afraid of losing your identity. So if you heal your wounds and you drop all of the stories and you give up the titles and the possessions, then who are you? You know, you think all your life you are your occupation, you are your role in your family, whether it be a mom or a dad, sibling, whoever you are to people. And you know, I have, if you ask people like, who are you, they'll say, you know, they'll say what they are. You know, I'm a mom, I'm a nurse, I'm a grandma, I'm a this and I'm a that. But who are you, like way down deep? And that's hard to fathom, that you are a soul and part of everything that is, and connected to everything, and you're not just your titles and your possessions. You might fear that you're going to lose control. So especially when, you know, we think we can control where our life is going, we think that we're the ones driving it, but ultimately we don't have any control over anything. We think we do. And you know, you can make some plans for things, and you know, but ultimately you don't have control over anything. And the harder you try to control stuff, and the harder you try to determine the outcomes that will measure your success in life, the trickier it gets. If you think, you know, I'll be successful if this happens, and then that doesn't happen, and then it kind of sends you into a spiral, right? So you think you're going to, you can't let go of anything, because you know you have this tight grip on everything, and you want to control how things are going, and you really have to realize that you don't have any control over anything, and you have to surrender just to life, and you know, trust the process, right? So these are all tricky to do, but I'm hoping that by sharing them with you, that you'll recognize them when they come up. Fear of rejection, and I've covered this one in a separate video, but the fear of rejection, you're afraid that if you like move forward from where you are, then you know, kind of like the fear of not being loved, there's not going to be anything for you. And like I've said before, like you can't miss what's meant for you. Have you had someone that you just loved so much, and just being around them felt so right? That person is meant for you. Have you had a job that you love so much it doesn't even feel like you're working? That's the job that's meant for you. If you're trying to squeeze yourself into places, it's going to feel uncomfortable, and you're not going to feel that ease that you will when something is meant for you. And if you're squeezing yourself into places that you don't belong, then you're not going to ever make it to where you do belong. And if you're filling your life with things that aren't for your highest good and aren't what truly are meant for you, then you're not going to have room in your life for the things that are. So that fear of rejection, though, it can really bind you up. because you think this is, the best I can do. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be rejected. You've been dealing with that lately. Things have been tricky, but you're getting control of your stress. Good. Yeah, it's good to recognize it. And the more you recognize it and kind of understand what's happening and recognize it as just like an unfounded fear rather than the truth. We all think that that's the ultimate truth, and that if we leave where we are, that's just it. We don't understand that there's so much better out there for us. So stick to it, and don't settle like out of fear that what's meant for you isn't out there, because it is. You can block it though by filling your life with stuff that's not meant for you and being afraid to leave those places that you don't fit in. And ultimately, we're afraid that other people will reject us. But honestly, when we settle like that and we say, here's what I really want, but no, I'm going to play it safe and I'm just going to take what I can get because that's better than nothing. That's actually you rejecting yourself. You're rejecting your true self. That's telling you like, hey, here's what I want life to feel like, and here's what I think could get us there. And you're like, no, we won't be doing that. That's you kind of telling yourself like, knock it off, we're just going to settle right here. You're rejecting yourself because you're afraid other people are going to reject you. So I never settle. I'm stubborn. Good. You should be. Another thing, oh my gosh, I didn't realize last time that the speakers were on my keyboard, and I was like rustling papers everywhere, so I'm so sorry. Anyway, being in a victim mentality. If you believe that other people control your life, and you can't do this because they'll feel this way, and then that will make you feel another way, it's insane, like the amount of control that we give other people over our lives. You control your emotions. The way that you react to other people is up to you. And once you develop this solid core understanding of that, and you begin to observe your reactions and don't identify with them, and you can just release them instead of making up these stories about your reactions to other people and whether or not that's the truth, then you can just observe that and release it, and just release their perceived control of you. You can have control over your own emotions. And we think, sometimes we use that as, I don't even know that we consciously do it, but it's kind of a cop-out. Like, oh, that's just me. I can't deal with whatever, and I can't do this because this happened to me in my life, and I'm just going to always react to things that way. So we kind of use it as we're giving up responsibility for our reactions, but you're also giving up all your power. So, and like Shane, don't give up your power. Like, I don't like giving up my power either. Like, but I didn't realize for the longest time that it was actually my power. And I really, really thought everyone else had power over me and my emotions. But so if you continue to think that everyone else has power over you, then that will keep you stuck, because you're going to spend your life trying to control other people so you can feel a certain way, which is completely nonsensical when you think about it. But it seems logical. And at the time, you think other people have to act a certain way for you to feel okay, and that's not going to happen. So don't stay in a victim mentality. You're not a victim. There's a whole thing that happens. I don't know if anyone has heard of a dark night of the soul. And there are tons of videos out there on it. And I will just explain what it felt like for me. But a dark night of the soul comes with kind of what they call an ego death. So once you're releasing all of those labels, and you're releasing all of those things and situations that you think define you, and your life as you know it kind of falls away because it just doesn't feel right anymore. You go through this dark night of the soul, nothing makes sense anymore. And if my entire life before was, I like throwing, football parties every week, and then on Saturdays we go to Sam's Club and we do the shopping list for the week, or whatever your routine is, and then all of that falls away. You can still do those things, but you think that that's what life is about. But once you start waking up to what life really is about, and that matters most to you, instead of judging your success, I guess, in life by how well you keep up with the Joneses, that kind of leaves you with, it's an ego death. Your ego, your mind, your identity is all falling away. And now you're okay, well, what does matter? What am I supposed to do? If for me, if drinking I quit drinking, okay, shopping doesn't do it for me anymore. This, that, and the other thing, all those things that I thought were important, and all of those things that I thought were a reward for me. I'm going to go out to eat, I'm going to do this. None of it involved being truly present in each moment. None of it involved my connection with myself and everything. It was all trying to escape those moments, or escape those feelings, I guess. And you just have to keep bringing yourself back to you. And it's hard to describe, but when it happens, you'll know, and it will feel like a death. It feels like I don't even know who I am or what life is supposed to be like. And if you don't know that that's going to happen, it's very scary. And you're feeling all of these fears come up to be dealt with, and you're the only one that can do it. It's called a dark night of the soul for a reason. It can leave you feeling very broken. But it's really just, your perspective changes, and all of the false 3D stuff kind of falls away, and you're left to get in touch with what really matters. And that's the whole point of this. That's the whole point of your awakening. And another thing before I forget is, people think, well, I'm not important enough to have an awakening. Yes, you are. We are all here, and we are all souls, and we are all meant to get back to who we really are. As you've gotten older, it's funny how the important things change. Yeah, you do. Your perspective really does shift as you age, and you realize what's important. But we are all, no one is not important enough to have an awakening. I promise you, I was very average person that you would never think oh, she's having an awakening. I never thought it. I didn't know what was going on for the longest time. But don't think that you're not important enough or that this isn't what's happening, because most people are like, if you're listening to me and this makes sense to you, that's likely what's happening. So the dark night of the soul can be frightening and it can feel like depression. Just be aware. And then the last thing, and it kind of ties in with all of the limiting beliefs and the fears. My mentor said, and I'm not sure if someone else said it but she conveyed it to me. It was like, you're not afraid of your darkness, you're afraid of your light. And that's very true. Like, we're all familiar with our darkness. We all know of our flaws and whatever you want to call it. But we're afraid to shine our light. We're afraid to be our true selves, because who is that? And what if I don't fit in anymore? And what if the people that are in my life don't like me anymore? And it all leads back to that, I won't fit in and I'll be alone and I'll be rejected, but again, that's really you rejecting your true self and who you really are and who your soul is calling you to be. So don't reject yourself. And then I thought the other day, like, what if where you belong and the people you belong with are missing you as much as you're feeling like you want to be there? You belong somewhere. And if you're not where you belong, get there. It reminds me of a game of like musical chairs where you just like sit wherever because you're afraid you're not going to get a seat. Like, get up and find the chair that you belong in. It's okay. But yeah, don't keep yourself dim. Don't be afraid of your light. It's okay. You belong with your people and in your situation, and things will be beautiful. And that is all I have to say for tonight. Unless anyone has any questions. Either of you that are here. Like I said, there's a delay in the chat. And I only know that from being on lives with other people presenting, that there's a delay. But all right, well, that was part 3. Part 4 of the last Monday in May is going to be just kind of some tools that you can use, ways that you can navigate this. And that's all. I don't see anything else in the chat, so I'm sorry if I'm missing it, but all right. You're welcome, Shane. Yes, it was good. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you can relate to it. And I'm around all the time. If you have questions, you can, anyone can send me a question or comment in the video, whatever you like. And I will see you next week for the final installment of this series. Who knows what's coming next, but all right. I'll talk to you guys later, and I'm sending you love. Take care.